There's an implicit bias to keep doing what you're doing because it's working when you know in your gut the direction that you're walking is the wrong direction.
And I will say this, I have a lot of belief in myself and my skill sets and everything that I kind of built up over the last decade. As soon as I decide the path I want to take, I will excel.
Who do I want to become 10 years from now? Is there a figure today that I'm like, damn, I want to become them?
Who comes to mind?
Right now, the one that comes to mind is like,
brand. Your brand isn't your logo. It's not your brand identity. It's not a font. It's not font kit. It's like this idea and this feeling that comes to you when you think about it.
Do you want to talk about Zach Pogrob a little bit more? What did he do better than most other people do who are trying to build a personal brand around something?
I say this in a good way. He never shut up.
All right, we're back. Weekends episode 9. Who would have thought? 9 in. What do we got? What do we have left till 21? We don't do public math. 12 episodes left till we get to 21 episodes. For those who don't know, 21 episodes is like the golden number. If you get past that, you're going to be a hero.
1% of podcasters if you get past
1%.
that. Episode 9, bro. That's Brazil Ronaldo. That's El Fenomeno. That's Joe DiMaggio. We're going to run it up with the sports numbers until we get to an episode so high that there's none left. I guess at 99 we get Gretzky, and then after that it's over.
When I was watching back 8 and you just spit those off, you're like, this is Kobe. You just went down like 3 or 4. I was like, all right, this has got to be a theme. Did you have those pre-written or you just know?
Nah, man, I'm a big sports nerd, bro. Like I just love sports growing up, especially NBA. NBA, like honestly, bro, like we're talking about things that we want to create. I wouldn't mind, I'm not going to do it, but I wouldn't mind just being an NBA commenter / creator. That's how much I love that brand and that league. But yeah, no, I'm gonna try to keep it. I'm not gonna look them up before each episode. I'm gonna try to keep it. I know these sports guys, so I know like every number basically.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, episode 9, we're locked in. If you're listening, make sure to subscribe. Episode 8 was a banger. Trailer was a banger. Episode was a banger. We're dropping bangers as much as we can. All right, we're gonna start off with, let's say we're conflicted. We'll keep it that open. Why don't you tee up how you're thinking? Because I think you and I are both in these. It's a thought spiral, but I don't, it's overthinking, but I don't think it is overthinking because anytime you feel like you're conflicted, there's some truth that's like bubbling beneath. So talk through what you're feeling.
Yeah. I mean, is it overthinking or is it just thinking? You know, like when it comes down to it, if you're strategizing, that's just strategy. That's a strategy. That's brainstorming. That's thinking. I don't know that it's overthinking. So let me frame this. 23, I came out all guns blazing, but that's because I had a very, very direct strategy. I knew exactly what I was doing. I'm going to make content every single day covering this new wave that we're seeing in AI, this new generative, keeping people updated, covering every breakthrough, every LLM, everything that's happening in the space I'm going to cover. And there was an ulterior motive in essence, right? I wanted to be a voice in this category. I wanted to build influence and trust here because I wanted to bring people into Aluna, which was my AI sort of ecosystem and a product that we were building in the space. Now we're shifting Aluna more towards a creator tool. So it's like, okay, making AI content, it's like I will do it here and there because the audience likes it. They like to stay updated. So whenever I see fit, I will do it. But it no longer serves like a strategic business purpose. Why would I continue to do AI if I'm building a tool that's sort of segmented as a creator specific tool, not necessarily like an AI adjacent tool? And if I'm not going to be selling a course on AI or how to use AI, like it really kind of makes no sense. And so now I'm like, okay, well, I'm building a creative tool. It's more for like newscasters and news journalists and sort of citizen journalists, that kind of stuff. But I don't know that I love so one strategy would just be to continue doing that, just like breaking news, newscaster style as you and I have done, and then build a tool that fits perfectly in that ecosystem, but I don't love it. And so now I'm like, now I'm trying to like go back to the drawing board. Like what kind of content do I want to put out there? I don't know that I want to make content just to get views. I don't think that makes sense. I think there needs to be some sort of strategy behind it. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. And I will say this is a great problem to have, but I have a lot of belief in myself and my skill sets and everything that I've kind of built up over the last decade. I feel like as soon as I decide the path I want to take, I will excel. Like if I wanted to be just a tech reviewer on YouTube, I think I could do a killer job there. But will I burn out? Will I be satisfied? Is that fulfilling? Is that exciting to me? I don't know. And so I'm trying to figure out the hybrid, the combination, the union, the marriage of what I love and what will be good for me strategically, business and money-wise. That I haven't cracked. And so that's where the overthinking comes in. But again, I think that's just strategizing. What do you think about that?
Not overthinking, just thinking is a bar. So we're gonna lock that one up in the archives for sure. I'm in the exact same boat. So the interesting thing is, so you had a product that you were trying to market. So it's like you started picking the content angle based on a product and worked backwards, which is how most people approach it. Like that makes a lot of sense. The thing is, when the product changes or when the market you want to changes, or the market you want to impact changes, then you have to like retool. For me, it's even more broad and directionless because I didn't even have a product when I was starting, and I specifically picked like multiple buckets because I didn't know where I wanted to make content. Similarly, like I guess I kind of did have a product because we were building a fashion brand on Web3 Rails. So I started out making content around fashion brands. Like I talked about Kith, I talked about Emilion Dor. Like I was really breaking down those. I only went to the AI content because I stumbled upon, I think I made a video about like ChatGPT 4 or 3.5 came out or 4 came out, and it was crazy. And that video went insane. It got like 2 million views. And I was like, wow, like people seem to really like this. So then I went down the AI path just because I was trying to pull views, and I had no product. So we're in kind of the same boat where it's like, I've been thinking about this a lot. And so maybe my one-liners aren't as tight because I have so many thoughts about it. But like, if you're taking the long view, if this is a long game, which like we both are, chasing the hot thing or like making content for a product that you don't think you're going to be building for 20 years, it's really just a distraction. Like it's you just running in circles, right? Now, maybe it's a distraction in terms of like it's worth nothing, or what I think for both of us, it is worth something because like we built influence, we like practiced our skills, we made reps and built skills. So it's not that it's worthless, but like there's an implicit bias to keep doing what you're doing because it's working when you know in your gut the direction that you're walking is the wrong direction. And like for both of us, I would say that's true. Like we are really good at the talking head explainer style. That explainer style could be AI. I've done some stuff for brand. Like we've done a variety. You've done some stuff like storytelling, Steve Jobs storytelling. We're good at all that. Like we're good at that. But I feel like if you play out the long term, where does that net you? Like I've been thinking a lot about who do I want to be like? And if you play out the style of content we make today, 20 years from now, who does that make us like? I don't know. Like who in mind do you think, who do you think of when you think of this like talking head content? Because that's more or less what we'll become if that's all we do.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. Where my head goes to, I've been thinking a lot about taste and being a tastemaker. And the one thing that I kind of come back to is this idea that I want to optimize for respect, not views. I want to like, I had a I don't want to say tweet, but it was a thread the other day where I said like, basically where I want to get to is where when you see an RP Nixon video pop up on your feed, like you're excited to watch, like it's a must watch because I'm going to come with something either fresh or new or interesting, or I'm going to take like a groundbreaking idea and simplify it. Or it's like, this is something that you need to know. I'm not going to ever come with, you know, I don't ever want to come with like some BS that doesn't add any value, like to the end user and audience. So it's like, and I think from there, when you talk about people that you kind of want to model after, one name that always comes to mind, not the content format, but sort of the brand, is Casey Neistat. I always think about Casey Neistat. And when I go and I'm like, oh, maybe I should just be, and we can talk about this later, batch versus quality. I'm against all guru speak where it's like just batch your shit because there's so much fucking noise on social media. It's also bullshit. I'm scrolling so fast that very few names stop the scroll anymore. It's all garbage, man, out there now. Like there's not and when I think of, so I always go back to Casey Neistat. I'm like, is this a video that he would make? Like it would be so, some of the videos that I've made, if Casey made, I'd be like, what are you doing, bro? You know? Same. Not that I'm like, okay, I need to follow in his footsteps. He's the OG. He's like the guy. But that kind of brand is something that I'd like to cultivate where it's just like, yo, it's taste, it's value, it's dope. And I'm not so worried about the product Like I'm a product mind, I'll be building product, whatever. I'm more worried about the brand. I do think brand is everything. And as we've talked about, all of the best creators, they spent years and years and years just building this brand and making the dopest shit possible before even thinking of product in a lot of cases, right? So again, are we getting ahead of ourselves? Maybe. And now more and more as I think about my strategy going into 24, it's like, I just want to make cool shit, man. I just want to be respected by the people I respect.
That's one of the things that I'm going to try to start doing. So there's like, who do I want to become? So like 20 years from now or 10 years from now, is there a figure today that I'm like, damn, I want to become them? And obviously everyone has like parts of their life that are below the surface that you don't really know.
Who comes to mind?
Well, right now, the one that comes to mind is like George Heaton or Ronnie Feig. Those are the two. So Ronnie Feig, founder of Kith, George Heaton, founder of Represent. Represent is like a Kith-esque type brand. I would say Kith has more maturity in terms of like partnerships and like different types of products that aren't just clothes, but Represent is building like a straight up movement. The brand, the clothing brand itself, but like George Heaton is a savage fitness person, like one of the fittest dudes in the world, runs these crazy races and does these crazy competitions. And for me, like if I really look at what I like most, it's fitness and it's physical products, like to the touch. It doesn't just mean clothes, but like when I pick up an AirPods case or when I pick up this Magic trackpad, like the feeling of the product in my hand, the way that like it's constructed, the edges, like that's where my eyes go. Now it's ironic I talk about this because I'm not an industrial designer. Like I'm not a textile manufacturer. Like I don't actually have the knowledge to be able to produce those things, but that's what I think about all the time. Like when I walk into a furniture store, I'm like looking at the aesthetic of the cabinet and like the way it's constructed. That's just like where my mind goes. So it's fitness and physical product. And to me, those are the guys that have done that really, and there's probably others, but those are the guys that I see that have, Ronnie Feig, not so much fitness, but George Heaton, like both of those things, it's amazing to emulate. So it's like one aspect is who do you want to become in 20 years? But something I'm going to try doing in the short term is a little different, which is like, if you could make a video for one person, would that person like it? And but it's not just like any person, it's the person that you want to like it. So, and it's going to be a fixed person. So I used to think of this, like every time I make a video, who am I making it for? So for example, I made some bullshit throwaway video yesterday about the figure robot. In my head before, I was like, well, if I'm going to make this for one person, it's going to be like someone who likes robotics. The way I'm approaching it now is like this guy, Jesse Sebastiani from Nelk, who started Sunday. We've talked about him. He is like a good, not 20-year guy, but like a peer, right? Like he's our age, but like doing something crazy. He understands media. He's building a fashion brand, building a lifestyle brand. Like he is who I kind of want to become. He is on a huge health journey. So now the frame I'm going to use is like, if I make this video, would Jesse like it and share it? And if the answer is no, I'm not making it. The reason I'm doing that is not like literally because I want to be Jesse, but it's because I want to be someone like Jesse, and I need to get in the mindset of angling my creative towards that direction. So for example, like what are things Jesse would like? Definitely fashion content, like how-tos, like here's how I made this blank, like that's cool. But also probably like, the story of Supreme and like how it actually worked. Or it doesn't even have to be that specific. It could be like, a video I'm going to make is around the Stanley Cups. So the Stanley Cups are going super viral. People are paying like 4x on eBay for those right now.
That video would do crazy
well. Trend. Yeah, so that would do well. And it's also like a marketing brand angle. That's not some like corny cookie cutter shit that like anyone could make. That could be like a Kallaway special in terms of the way I approach marketing and strategy, but Jesse would like it. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on this kind of like framing, because when you make anything for anybody, which is what I was doing, it's impossible to have direction. You're like a circle. You're just walking around in every direction. So I'm trying to like angle myself so that I can kind of position to where I want to be. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that's right. First of all, that video that you just described, I do think that is your specialty. Like you should lean into that more, right? So it's like, okay, I want the Kallaway breakdown on how this brand was able to achieve this. How do they achieve this cult fandom around this one product that, by the way, a million other companies make? Like what is so special? How do they get from point A to point B? Like that, I love that. Then we talk about Jesse. It's like who he is now if Jesse didn't have Nelk, if he just started off doing Sunday, he wouldn't pop, right? Like, it would just be what like, it is special, but it's special because of sort of the mystique that surrounds Jesse and his story and the fandom and sort of like the connection that millions of fans around the world have with him over the last decade making content. So it's like, if you wanted to say be a Jesse, you don't start off by being a Jesse. You start off and we could get to this later because we're going to talk about Zach, but like obsession years of doing something different. So like Jesse put in 8 to 10 years in the mud just doing pranks, right?
Yeah.
Who would have known that this crazy prank dude from Canada just doing debauchery prank shit would then build like this sophisticated ultra marketing sick ass brand? It's like, it's a process I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so it's like, is it a trap to kind of try to position yourself to the person or the creator or the brand or the builder you want to become in 10 years? Is it a sort of a trap to try to get there too early? You know, you kind of got to put in anybody. We just talked about Casey Neistat. He had to put in his obsession year where he vlogged every single damn day. It's like every big creator has that, you know, have those like 2, 3, 4, 5 years of self-discovery. Another great example we talk about a lot is Ali Abdaal. He wasn't a productivity guy. He was a how to get into medical school guy for years and years and years. And then he started sprinkling in productivity and found signal there and realized, oh shit, I could corner this market. I could own this word. He became that guy. Another guy is the stoicism guy, Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday was not a stoicism, you know, Marcus Aurelius cover creator. He was something completely different for years and years and years. He started sprinkling that into his content. People loved it. And he realized, yo, I want to corner this. I'm going to go all in.
They let themselves drift. That's the key. Is like they let themselves.
You have to let yourself drift. You have to make shit about, like, I have videos because I'm trying to plan. I want to have like we're gonna talk about it later. We might do 29 and 29 in February, but like I don't want to do that challenge unless I have like 22 scripts ready, and then hopefully 7 news stories might break or whatever. But I'm writing scripts down. I want to cover things that I like that I've never covered before. I want to let myself drift a little bit this year. I want to let myself experiment and explore more. So I don't know that you have to put too much pressure on yourself, especially in the early years, man. It's like, just try shit, you know, try shit. And eventually you're going to find like, I know exactly what I want to do, all in on this corner. I'm going to be the guy. So
yeah, it's a good counterpoint. Cause I feel like, so I agree. I'm not trying to put too strict of guardrails on, but for if I'm being self-aware, like what I've been doing to this point is I know this like cult brand strategy, marketing, product angle is like where I'm special. I know that. But those videos take a lot of effort. I can't do those every day because I don't have like...
What takes the longest time? Is it the ideation, scripting? Where does most of that effort lie?
It definitely takes more research to put the story together. Maybe instead of like 30 minutes, it's like an hour and a half. Yep. But also the execution on the editing is significantly higher. Like, as people will know, like when we get a source video of like an Apple event, it's easy to put that together because you've got the best visual in the world that you just overlay, you split us, you do full screen half. It's really easy. Yeah. It's really hard to put it together when like you got to go back in the archives and like find clips of different, like the Stanley Cup thing, I would have to go find interviews of the new CEO before, right? 'Cause if I want to talk about her. So it's just a lot 100%. More of like an internet archaeologist as well as a storyteller and an editor and everything. And so those videos, which I love making them, but they end up taking 5 to 8 hours instead of 2 to 3. And so which is fine, but where I've been messing up, I think, is I put these, and I say this every episode, I put these arbitrary deadlines on myself to put a video out every single day. And when I get started at noon and the video's got to be out by 5, I think, oh shit, I only have 5 hours, so I can't do one of those I can't start the process of one of those cult videos today. I should just do a layup that I know can pull views. And those layups is where I'm wasting my time. It's not that I'm like afraid to drift naturally. It's more like I'm not letting myself drift because I'm forcing myself into this like junk food newscaster type stuff, which is exactly what I did yesterday. Like that is literally exactly what I did. I made a sick video that I sent to an editor that I'm trialing out. And then I was like, I've got 3 hours. What can I make? And I made the robot video. So for me, as like another way to think about it would be for you, right? Let's say Casey Neistat's your filter. If in the back of your mind, every time you sat down to make a video or every time you sat down to write a script, you kind of just had one thought where you're like, if this ends up how I think it could, would Casey Neistat like this? Like, would this be the kind of thing that he might like and want to rewatch and share with a friend? If you had that as a filter, you're right. Like, it would prevent your natural drift for like the crazy shit on the edges that not even Casey would like. But at least I think it would help angle you into like throwing away those junk food ideas that he for sure wouldn't like, which you probably shouldn't be making anyway. That's kind of how I was trying to think of it. But it might, that even to your point, even that might be too rigid. Like, maybe I should just not put the pressure on at all and just like literally let myself go wherever I go.
Yeah. There's so many ways to run with that and unpack that. I mean, scientifically, let's get like mathematically first. Like, I can point to actual examples. I sent you one the other day. That was a video I did on this AI tool. 2 million views, 80,000 shares, and I think it probably got me like 1,000 follows, if that. So the signal was there that it's like, okay, people are watching this because of the novelty of the tool, not because of anything that I'm doing, because I'm literally, that video took under 15 minutes for me to make. I took an existing video and I said, wow, look what you can do or whatever. And so then I look at that and I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not worthwhile. But then again, if it takes under an hour and I'm getting 1,000 followers, that's probably like, it all comes back to what you're optimizing for. Right now, I'm optimizing for my brand. I'm not in a rush again. And by the way, I have a question here for you later in the show from one of my friends named Truman who submitted. But I'm not in a rush to make money because I know it'll come. Like, if I can build a brand and I can have that trust. You mentioned the other day you're trying to get to the point where you can sell 1,500 hoodies in a tweet. There are creators out there that could sell out anything in a tweet or even an Instagram story or whatever. And that comes with years and years and years and years of building that trust. And so it's a very, very long-term game. If I want to build a 10 or $100 million company, like, I'm not in a rush. Let me get that trust first, that distribution. And I'm in position to do that, luckily. Like, the question that I have later for you is, well, we'll get to that later. But I would just come down to, man, we were just talking about before the episode, it's like creator is such a convoluted word now. It's about as general as the word worker. It's a million different types of creators who are doing things for different reasons. It all comes down to what you're optimizing for. 2024, I'm optimizing for brand. 2025, I'm going to optimize probably for the finances. Yeah, I want to pull in a 7-figure year in 2025. There's different ways that I can do it. Probably even more. You and I think we both can get there. But that doesn't come before the trust and the brand part. And so, yeah, man, it's interesting from a mathematical standpoint. It's like, do I want to make one of these cinematic videos that are appreciated by the people that I respect? I'm getting DMs from people that I've admired for 10 years. Or do I want to make these quick hit videos that might get 2 million views, bring in a little... I don't, again, goes back to the first segment of the show. I don't exactly know my strategy yet. But, I'll figure it out.
What's tough is, and you mentioned this, we have these conversations, you and I are aligned. I leave these conversations, I'm like, all right, yes, bias towards unique one-of-one quality, whatever. I don't need to hit these like crazy thresholds I'm setting, and I feel good about that. Then you go on Instagram and you see two things. One, you see people you respect who are deploying the opposite strategy and it appears to be working. So like, someone who I love is like Oren. We both love Oren. Oren is a machine. Like, he is putting out so much quantity, and it's really high quality because he actually is like unique and was a CMO and brand strategist, but he's taking more of like he's not, I don't want to say polished because the videos are really good, but like, he doesn't care about 10 out of 10 quality. He's fine with 7 out of 10 quality, but like 14 videos a week or whatever crazy output, and it's working for him. So I'm like,
I didn't realize he's putting out that many. That's
all
crazy.
Right, he's probably not putting out that many, but it's at least 7. It's at least 1 a day. So I'm like, damn, that, and it's not that he's bragging about like, and saying like, oh, quality doesn't matter. He's not saying that, but like through his actions, you're watching and you're like, oh, wow, it's working for him. Quantity, taking a step or two down on quality just so he doesn't have to edit them and take forever editing for quantity is working. You watch like these other people you respect doing that, and you start to second guess like, oh, wow, like I've seen 5 people now play the quantity and not really care about the quality game 10 out of 10, and it's working. And then you see these other guys, I don't want to mention this guy, but I'm sure we've both seen him, who's like just over and over pounding the same like super stale high quantity, like quality doesn't matter. You just need to be consistent with quantity and you can like rip views and rip sales. Like I'm seeing this over and over and over. And like, this is an ode to the fact of like the input you drive in from content really does dictate what you think. There is no way to think differently than the inputs you're giving yourself. And so you have to find a way. If you don't believe that's right, like in my gut, I believe quantity over quality is wrong. Like, I just believe that's wrong. I think Christopher Nolan wins in the end versus 1,000 tweet Tony.
Wait,
like,
so I think you mean quantity over quality is wrong, you think?
Yeah. Quantity over quality is wrong. I believe quality matters more than people give it credit for. Like, I believe a lower number with a higher quality is better. Like, I believe that in my gut. And so what's hard is, like, I believe that, and then everything I'm pumping into my brain, everything I'm seeing, a lot of the examples I'm seeing are all pushing quantity. And it does make me second guess. Like, I'm not David Goggins. Like, I don't have this like delusional filter over my brain where I'm able to tune out everything. I'm just not there yet. And so when you see everything that's contradictory to the strategy you believe in, it becomes really hard and sometimes tantalizing to try what they're doing. And that I think is that gets to what I'm talking about like putting out these low effort, high quantity pieces every single day, and like me sometimes falling into that trap. So yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you're thinking like, okay, I believe in one thing, but all the things I'm seeing are pushing me the other way, the opposite way, that doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong, right? It just means your input is contradictory to what you believe.
Yeah, again, I think it's so nuanced and there's so many variables. When you think about Oren, if he's putting out that kind of quantity, but it's also quality matched, because to me it's not noise. It's not noise. It's like it's all valuable stuff, and it's like a case study that is like Oren's doing it right. I think
he's doing it right. He's one of my favorites.
Where I just think, when it's quantity, when it's the same thing rehashed over and over, I think it's compelling in the short term. There's a lot of signal, you get that high, but what ends up happening, and there's a graveyard of these all over social media, where a guy with like 500,000 followers, 1 million followers, and they just cannot get views. There's a lot of people that I've known through the past where they've had their hot years, and now it's like you go to their pages, they'll have like 1 million followers and they'll get like 12,000 views, if that, and there's no respect there. It's not a long-term sustainable thing, no matter how much that short-term sort of high fools you. So it all depends, man. Like, honestly, I would love to put out 10 videos a day if I could have like 7 of 10 quality on each. I'm not trying to go out there and get a 10. I'm trying to do like a 10 to 10 quality piece maybe once a month, just to keep fueling. Let me reframe this. Like, the reason I went and did those cinematic videos, it was sort of like a self-challenge. I was like, wait, I don't want to be known as like this AI newscaster guy. Let me just hit them with stuff to let them know that I could do work as good as anybody. Like, that's how I felt about it. Let me just let them know. That was like a branding thing for me. But I'm actually not going for 10 of 10. I'm going for like 7 or 8 of 10. Again, just right now, without that content strategy in place, I don't know what that looks like. But yeah, I think it's when like I started writing down like content ideas. It was like how to film yourself. What like it was the same shit that if I go on Instagram right now, I'm going to see 30 times. Or like, yeah. And I'm like, do I just want to be another noise creator? Like, there's a certain level of pride I think that comes in too. You know, I don't think it's like necessarily ego, but it's like, do I want to be another what's in my camera bag 7 times a year? Or like,
well, so this is a good question. What do you want to be, right? Because like, what's your latest thinking around that? Because exactly what you're describing is what happens when you pick a niche first, and then you're like, okay, my niche is healthcare. What videos can I make about healthcare? And you start writing these lists, and the headlines are exactly basically what you're describing, but like for healthcare, for filmmakers, or for whatever the industry is. It just becomes so sanitized and so like corny to me. So and like there's a lot of people making a ton of money and like doing really well and building influence around that strategy, but it just doesn't feel right in my gut. So I'm curious, how are you thinking about this? Like, how are you trying to angle yourself right now?
Well, first things first, like I'm running and curating Metaverse and Aluna, and so those are my big engines for when like Pulse comes out and these product comes out. I'm going to lean into those heavily as my distribution channels. So I'm thinking about myself from a personal standpoint, almost as like a side project at the moment, if that makes sense, which gives me a little more flexibility. I think that there is like we talked about a course, right? That's always like for me, not like necessarily plan B, but that's like the lowest hanging fruit. I see a lot of guys, like one of my buddies, Viral Video Club, who's like dope. He actually makes good videos. He's found like this really sick, unique format where he like unveils hooks and he like peels it off. But now he's got a new challenge, which I love because he's taking the audience on a journey. I'm going to make $100,000 in a month. A lot of people do this online, and it's always an info product, right? Which is, again, it's very low hanging fruit. and I'm not against, because I'm actually more and more into the idea of course as a curation, as a curated product. I've always hated courses because I'm like, everything's available for free online. This is literally a grift. But then more and more I'm realizing, no, like where the magic is it's all curated in one place, delivered by a voice that you trust. So I don't know, man, like product is my thing. Like that's really what I want to be doing. And on the personal side, for personal content, I just want to be trusted, respected, and I just want that brand. Like when you think of, here's a good exercise, and then I want to get into Pogrob, Zach Pogrob, and Obsession, because he's done this super, super well. Brand. Your brand isn't your logo. It's not your brand identity. It's not a font. It's not fontkit. It's like this idea and this feeling that comes to you when you think about it. All the greats, Nike, Apple, Coca-Cola, they do this really well. One guy that we both love, who's a friend of ours, Zach Pogrob, he was Behavior Hack. Now he rebranded to his full name on Instagram, but he's active everywhere. But I think Instagram's like his hub. He's done this so well that when I think of Zach, I'm now thinking of The Dark Place. I'm thinking of Obsession. I'm thinking of like these visuals that he puts out. It's like really rugged and raw. It's like ethereal. He's a great writer. It's like the brand, the feeling that I have connected to him is really powerful. Zach is not somebody who's building like a lot of products, this and that, who has any necessarily an offer. But when he goes to write that book, when he goes to do whatever it is that he's going to go off and do, when he goes to do this paid IRL community, it's going to sell out and it's going to be spectacular success. Zach is doing it right. He's in no rush. He's going to build his brand for 3 or 4 years, and then he's going to come out with the New York Times bestseller, whatever it is. Fucking kudos to Zach. But the question I have before we get into that is, when you think of a branding exercise, what do you want people to think when they think of Kallaway, right? I think that's a good place to reverse engineer from.
Yeah. Well, the answer that comes to mind is like a little corny, to be honest, and very broad. But all I want is for people to be like, that dude's dope. Like because the medium or the message.
Like how you feel about Jesse.
Yeah, in a way, when I watch the Sunday videos, I'm like, yeah, that dude's dope. So yeah, I guess perfectly said. It's basically like the medium and the message for me are going to change over my life. So if I'm trying to think of someone that's tied to a medium, right? So let's say Christopher Nolan. When I say Christopher Nolan, one of the first 3 words that usually comes out is like filmmaker or like cinema. There are other like adjectives that describe how good he is at it, but like the vector that he creates in is so predictable because that's the one medium that he loves most is cinema. I don't think I'm going to be tied to a single medium or a single message. Zach Pogrob is tied to obsession. That's like a message. Maybe for this whole life, it could change. He might, like you said, maybe he'll go 5 to 10 years and then like graduate to something else. But for now, it appears that like the message that he stands for is obsession. Obsession is him. He is obsession. And so it's really easy to obviously message that to others if like message is at the core. For me, I don't feel like a message or a medium is what defines me. But what defines me more is like my approach. It's like a layer on top of everything I touch. It's like a veil. And anytime you see something from me, it could be a written piece, it could be a video, it could be a hoodie, it could be a physical product. I want everything that I touch to be like the Kallaway effect or whatever. I'm having trouble articulating it, but like that's what I mean by that dude's dope is like I can do anything I want, but the people that really love me think it's sick. Like they just think it's dope. It's broad. That's why I think it's been hard to message what I'm trying to do and like to rally people around, because it's much easier to rally people around a medium or around a message. That's why like we talk about a lot. We were texting like Zach's amazing at building a cult brand around obsession. What's our obsession? And the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, like we could come up with like 1 or 2 word things that like we really care about. But I don't know, that doesn't, right now I don't have like a specific cult message that I'm trying to push. It's more just like an approach to life, you know?
Yeah, but this is a great exercise for anybody listening. I think, these are kind of the thought processes that you can go through as well. I also want to make the point, look, we love to talk about creating, and I think we understand like what are best practices, how to sort of hack the human psyche, how to make dope shit visually. If you're somebody who's just creating because you have an offer that you want to push, also that's a great thing as well. Like, don't be discouraged thinking you have to do anything amazing. You could go out there and just push something day in, day out. We're not like hating on that path either.
For sure.
If you have a freaking, you know, I don't know, nothing's coming to mind, but if you have some service business online and you just want to push that and you just want to create content around that and you're looking for leads, there's no better place to do it than on social media right now as a discovery platform. There so many ways. I had a call this morning with this really dope ass entrepreneur, a buddy of mine from DC. He's got 28 brick and mortar businesses, and he hit me up and he's like, "Hey, I want to get into content. What should I do?" And I'm like, "Listen, the blueprint is Hormozy. If you have nothing to sell to your audience, I don't think you're gonna make hyper local, hyper targeted content for the DC area people to come be customers to your businesses. What you want to do is build a brand, talk about business, and the same way that Hormozy did it. What Hormozy's doing is actually brilliant. He's not sitting here, you know, selling anything to his audience.
It's so brilliant.
He's just building his brand and reputation. And so now his speaker fee is astronomical, and everybody wants to book him as a speaker. If he wanted, he could probably do 50 to 100K per day, every day, speaking at business events and conferences around the world. So now he has that because of his brand online. But more importantly, I think, and granted, he's selling books and that, but books, honestly, for guys of his stature are usually like
rounding
peanuts, you know, like that's exactly. It doesn't really add up. It's more, again, just more as a vehicle to build the brand. But where his real bread and butter is acquisition.com. And now I guarantee you he's getting the most favorable deals possible because of the brand and the status that's attached to it. So if I have a company doing 5 million ARR and I want to get acquired, I want to be acquired by a bigger vehicle, which I could then use their resources to build the business faster. Like, I'm going to go to Hormozy first, if he was willing, because like, damn, that's a flex. I got acquired by Hormozy, or I'm backed by Hormozy, versus I'm backed by, like the status that comes with it that humans are naturally attracted to is such an unlock for Hormozy that now he's probably getting the best deals at the most favorable deal structure.
Exactly.
Who are knocking on his door first. Like, I can't understate how valuable that is for Hormozy as the business person.
The Hormozy stamp is now worth more than the operational chops that he brings, which, by the way, are good. Like, the operational chops
100%.
were good. That's what I mean by being dope. Is like, if I want to get to the point where if anyone in any vector in any medium attaches the Kallaway brand to what they're doing, it increases the dopeness of it. It's like a universal donor of dope. That's what I want to become, because I'm too
reputation, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Reputation and trust, dude.
But I'm curious. I want you to go through that same exercise.
Think about this. If somebody went again, we made this. I made this point the other day. If somebody came to me and Casey Neistat, and we both made videos on a product, and we each got 5 million views. Guess what? My 5 million views are going to be like, oh, that's kind of dope. That like this. It's just going to be like, oh, this random guy is trying to sell me this product. It's cool, but whatever. But it's like, oh, Casey is attaching his reputation to this product. Damn. Like there's just this certain elevation there. And so, Gary Vee talks about it all the time too. He's like, companies are going to come to me. They want me to promote something. I'm going to charge 100x premium, because I'm not charging based on a view or a CPM. I'm charging like, hey, my reputation, my life's work is attached to this. So, it just comes, bro, brand is everything. That's always what I'm thinking about. And you never want to sacrifice trust to your brand for any short-term, financial incentive if possible.
And to close the loop on that, but I want to hear you go through the brand exercise as well. But to close the thought loop on that, I 1,000% agree. Like, reputation is the most important thing. And what I thought at the beginning was by getting a lot of views, I could increase my reputation, but that isn't true. You have to, and views maybe isn't even the thing at all, but like, you have to make the stuff in the direction that you want your reputation to improve in. So like Brandino, who's a guy I love, I know you like him, Blank Studios, the content he was making was all about like building industrial products, like physical products, and like everything he was making, it was either about him doing it, showing him doing it, the process of him doing it, the products themselves. It was all in the direction where he wanted to go, which is ultimately right now he's selling products through Blank Studios, selling industrial home decor. So like what I thought before though, where I was wrong, is any view, any direction was giving me that reputation. But I actually don't think that's true, because the people with the best reputations are building it in a certain direction. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out. But I'm curious to get you, I want to hear you go through the brand exercise as well. Like what do you want when people hear your name? What do you want people to think?
I think ultimately I want it to be attached to a story. Like I really resonate with people who are, you know, maybe late bloomers or who were counted out. Just because, again, like I was a horrible student. Like all my teachers were, like, I remember one of my teachers literally told my mom, don't waste money on college. Like it's just a lost cause. And then I spent like 8 years suffering with like PTSD, just like being in a dark place. And so like more than anything, I want to be able to succeed, just to be that beacon of hope for other people who are in the same position where it's like, yo, if he made it, I can make it, kind of thing. So that's something that drives me. I think that's important to like my central message / brand. Otherwise, I think just, just this idea of being a tastemaker. So if like I'm talking about it or if I'm covering it, it's like, okay, well, that's legit, kind of thing. I think just trust is paramount. And again, it's because I'm operating on a 10-year time period. Like I want to build $100 million business, more if possible. And like, so I'm just like working, like navigating my way towards that, like building these skill sets, building the network, building the reputation where I can make that happen. So I think it's just, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, again, this is a great thought exercise, something that I definitely want to start writing down. But as I formulate my strategy come this year, I think it's important, but not utmost important, because of what I talked about before, where it could be like where I want to be in 10 years. That's a process. I don't have to be that person this year. I don't have to stress myself out becoming that person this year, because it is a process. And so, good question. That'll be in the back of my mind, but I'm also not going to let it hinder any progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that is if you can take away nothing from this section or this podcast or really anything we do, it's that you don't have to be the person you want to become today. You don't have to be the person you want to become tomorrow. Like, as long as you're taking a step forward as much as you can. Some days you won't even take a step forward, but like, as long as you're just trying to move in that direction, I think that's all you can really do. And then when you look backwards 10 years from now, you'll be like, holy shit, there were a lot of dots that were connected. And that's like something I wrote about to close this point. I'm sure people want us to talk about other stuff. Something I wrote about today in Blueprint this week was a big mistake I made was, basically, I looked at the Mr. Beast, Logan Pauls, Emma Chamberlain. I looked at these people who had these really big product businesses. Cause like, you're a product guy, I'm a product guy. I like thinking about business and products and like selling to customers. So I was like, wow, these businesses are printing money. Because they were creators, they have unfair advantages. So I was like, what I want to do is be a creator so that I can build product businesses.
Yes, exactly.
Which I think is fine to approach that way, but that's not how they approached it. All of those people approached the creator part as obsessive artist creators. When they started 10 years ago, there was no like creators can build physical products and sell for way more because of distribution. Like, those models didn't exist. And because those didn't exist, it honestly, like, ignorance is bliss is what I said. It allowed them to focus so deeply on building that trust and reputation for years, like 5 to 10 years. Then it just so happened that the market caught up in the last 5 years that allowed Nelk Boys to launch the seltzer and Logan Paul to launch the drink, to where those brands are worth billions of dollars. But what I overlooked and like really underestimated was that those 5 to 10 years in the trenches, where all they were focused on is building trust, that's the reason why their brands are working. It's not some like savvy product knowledge or like business ability. And so I feel like we're only a year in. I tried to like shortcut the process of building that trust and reputation because I was so eager to get to the product piece, when the reality is all the models that I was looking at the blueprints for the product stuff, they spent 10 years building that reputation without any expectation of building a product. And like, overlooking that is a huge mistake. And now I realize that, it's going to take several more years for us to like really build that trust at a big enough scale that can support, products at those scales, I would say.
100% agreed. And if you're listening, this is the kind of live brainstorming that we hope is helpful, because I think every creator out there, maybe creative entrepreneur, whatever it is you want to call it, will go through these thought processes. And so hearing them play out in real time, I think is really dope. And I don't know that any other podcast has content like this. So I think we're carving out our own niche here. Speaking of product, let's go to the Vision Pro.
Let's do it.
Because this is really exciting to me, because the people that like, so my sister is one of the early testers. I think she's like under a heavy NDA.
Oh, really? That's
my
sick.
sister's a writer. You could probably like connect the dots there. But she said she was speechless. Like, she's never experienced anything like this.
Ooh.
And then I've had 2 other people in my network that have also tried it. And again, like the way that they describe it is just like, it's magical. And then I have writers that I follow on the internet. OM on Instagram is one who just, he's been covering tech, I think, for like 30 years plus. Scobalizer, Robert Scoble's another one covering tech for 40 years plus. They're just like, it's such a magical experience. There's never been anything like it. And so I'm really excited for it. I want to get your thoughts, but I'm leaning towards copying, pre-ordering on the 19th. It's $3,600. It's absurdly priced, and that's just entry level. Like, who knows how high it's going to go. The reason I'm leaning towards copying is twofold. A, as a creator, I think it's going to make for great content that'll elevate me. I think I can do an unboxing piece, first impression piece, full review, YouTube, Instagram, et cetera. Now, that's not too special, because every other tech creator is probably going to get it, and so it's not like anything, like it's not a crazy moat there. But then the other piece to it is like, I want to see if there are any arbitrage opportunities as a builder, as a developer. Are there any apps here? Are there any ideas, maybe a company or product idea that can come to me? And then B, as a creator, is this a new format that we can be early on? Can I have a content bank? I have a Canon R5 VR lens. Is this an arena I can play in that will yield some great arbitrage opportunities? And so that's why I'm leaning towards copying. As a consumer, if I was just copying as a consumer, I don't think the $3,600 price tag is worth it. But I want to hear your thoughts on it.
It feels rich, like it feels pretty pricey. I'm gonna get it, mostly because a lot of what you said, but mostly because this is the first consumer hardware shift where I have been fully locked in to like entrepreneurial mode, where like every other one, I would say, so iPhone was 2008. I was a freshman in college, too young to really appreciate it. And even though like it took a few years for it to get ramped up, like I was still way too young to be able to really attack it. Cloud, I think, is B2B. So like that wasn't a big, and that's not a hardware shift, but like the watch, the tablet, the MacBook, these are all like small iterative improvements. Whereas this is the white whale of what could be the future of computing. So because of that, I think what you're saying is 100% right, which is like, not only will there be new apps, but there will be new buckets and ways apps are built and thought through, like the entire ecosystem, the way people interact. There's going to be a whole new ad platform. There's going to be a whole new social media experience. There's like everything will completely change based on either this device or like in this direction. Maybe it's not this version, but because of that, I think it would be like, if you're in this business at all, like content for sure, but like even if you're in the creativity business, to not run at this new platform shift, I feel like is doing yourself a disservice. Now, that's to run in this direction. Is this product the one to like spend $3,600 on? It's tough. I think being early to stuff rewards you. Like we were both early to AI content. It rewarded us significantly. And I have a gut feeling that this is going to be the same, but I don't think it's going to be super easy to use it in ways that we would think to use it today, right? So like maybe there's not even a screen record ability, or like if you screen record and the footage comes out and it's like shows up on the normal phone app, it doesn't look good, right? There's going to be like kinks, but all that rambling to say, I think I'm going to get it. But if I were a normal user, I'd probably wait until the like SE version comes out that's like $1,500.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think this is such a winning format. I think it's going to be like 2027. If I had to predict, I think this will go out there. It may sell out, it may not, but even if it sells out, it's 500,000 units. The media is going to run with I don't think the experiences that it comes equipped with are going to be all that compelling. The media is going to run with it's a flop, this and that. But I think by version 2.3.4, it's going to be a huge hit. And where I see all of this going, this is going to iterate to the point where the form factor and the ergonomics are as easy as putting on a pair of glasses. And one day, I'm thinking it's going to be like 2027-ish. There's going to be a Pokemon Go style experience. But imagine like an always-on Pokemon Go that sort of just lives in the background as you go about your day. And I think that's when these are going to hit critical mass and everybody rushes to buy it. I'm looking at these. There are some experiences that, and I can point to specific use cases that I think make it a little bit more digestible. But think about you and I could box Charlotte to San Diego, but the bandwidth and the feedback is immediate, so there's no lag. I think that's incredible. Being able to play tennis, cross country, basketball, these kind of things. I think for sporting, exercise, and fitness, it's going to be so much fun. A format that has never existed is going to be so sick. I think entertainment wise, like the people that have put it on, they're like, yo, this is like watching an IMAX. This is incredible for media consumption. I think that's really interesting as well. I can't wait to put it on and watch like an Inception or an Interstellar. But the thing that really comes to mind, especially as all of these technologies are converging, imagine reliving experiences from the past. I don't know, the Boston Tea Party, the Civil War. It's kind of grim, but there was an early example of this on the Quest, like one that I had. There was like this 9/11 simulator where you're like in the building and like watch the plane. And it was like so pixelated and shitty that it like didn't necessarily sell it, but it was still such a profound, like I remember that. I was like, holy shit. Like it was very surreal and immersive. I can't imagine now with like 4K on each lens, like how realistic the sound immersion, everything, getting to relive some of these historical moments. I think that's unreal. And then the last point that I'll make is you saw that clip that went viral at the concert where everybody had their phones up. And like, that's the dystopian sort of Black Mirror world that we live in now. I'm still a big believer that the best memories are not recorded. The best memories are lived. But now it's like we're coming to this format where we can, quote unquote, relive memories. We're still not going to get all the sensory feedback, but maybe with haptic hardware in the future, we're going to get some of it. But I've been recording a lot of my VR devices, like my daughter's early years. I think it's going to be surreal in 5-10 years on the Vision Pro 6 or whatever, reliving those. Like that's going to bring a tear to my eye. Like it's going to be that immersive and impactful. So there's a lot of new, again, I don't know where it all goes. Even as a creator, is YouTube still the killer app? And now we just have like VR enabled YouTubes that I don't know where it all goes, but I want to tinker. I think there's something there.
There's something there for sure. I have one like thought around how I think markets will evolve, and then one question. The thought is basically the way live experiences work today is it's very binary. So like take Coachella. You're either at Coachella physically or you're not. And I guess the medium today that they bridged is like, we'll stream it on YouTube. But like streaming it on YouTube is you are for sure on your couch watching through a laptop screen or on a TV. And it's like fun to watch, but like you're very much not there. What this does is, and I think the Quest could have done it, but I think the quality to this point wasn't good enough. And like also the input camera quality wasn't good enough. But like what this does is it puts an experience in between being there and watching on TV where you can kind of be there. Like you can pseudo be there. Your feet aren't on the ground. You're not getting like you're not feeling the vibration because there's no haptics, but like you are much closer to being there than you were before. And what's interesting to me around how markets will evolve is like, is the way live events will work is maybe the ticket to be there in person is $1,500, but to buy it's like the stream, but like not a stream or whatever the VR equivalent is. You pay $20 and you can like be there, but you're on your couch, and the YouTube is still free because it's like more static and 2D. And I think what's going to happen is live events are going to have this new revenue stream where it's this like hybrid kind of be there without being there thing, where millions of people from around the world can have courtside tickets to the NBA game. And it's not going to be the same. You're not going to get sweat on you from the players. You're not going to be able to dap them up as they run back after hitting a three, but like, you're going to be much closer to feeling like you're there. And I think that's going to be a really interesting development, because will less people go to in-person events, or will more people go to in-person events because now more people will have access to like what it could be like if they were there? It's going to be a really interesting dynamic. What do you think about that before I go with the other question?
Maybe even an improvement in some sorts, because now I'm looking with like neural radiance field and some of this other tech. It's very obvious to where things will be in 5 years, where maybe we'll watch an NBA game and we're not just sitting courtside on these devices. We can actually go anywhere in the arena. You know, obviously there'll be some privacy issues, so maybe they'll block out. But like I can go from court to court. I can be in the court, like interweaving through the players as they're playing live in a finals. These kind of things are going to be made possible in the next 5 years. And yeah, as far as entertainment and media consumption, I'm just really excited to see where it all goes.
The entire
even for
stack.
Something like, imagine being an educator. Imagine an online course or something like that, where instead of like having a Skype call, you're actually sitting in a room with everybody and they're getting context with the body language. So much unlocks. I think this is why Meta rebranded and they're putting losing $11 billion annually in their reality labs. I think these companies understand where it's going to be in 5 years, and they're all racing to be at the forefront for when it sort of cracks that critical mass. Again, I think we're a few years out, but this is a big step forward with the Vision Pro.
The crazy thing is like because it's such a wild frame breaker, like the way you'd interact with software and experiences is so different. My brain doesn't even go to like some of the most obvious things, right? So I think of entertainment, like how am I going to watch, what's the word, skeuomorphic? I'm like, how am I going to watch a basketball game? Are they just going to show me the same feed, but it's going to be, dude, like eventually you're going to be able to edit videos. Well, I don't even know if you'll need to edit videos, but you'll be able to edit videos on a screen in the air. Like you won't even need to touch the keys. Like you could just like point to stuff and drag it around. Like that is and maybe this,
such a good point.
This Vision Pro version 1, I feel like is not going to have that, because that it's going to require the software developers to catch up to the hardware. And like, I think there's going to be probably a year or two lag, but like every single thing we do that is annoying to do because we're constrained by our hands and by the physical products in front of us will be completely changed. So like, Another in the I guess the difference is, my mind's all over the place, but like a difference is there's 2 steps. One step is wearing the goggles in your home and changing experiences. So like, oh, I can go to the pyramids at Giza, but I'm in my home. Or I can edit my video, but I'm in my home. Step 2 is what you were saying, which maybe by 2027, you'll be actually able to go to Giza, but then when you you look at the pyramids through the glasses, you'll be able to see what it was like when Egyptians 2,000 years ago were building them, or like it'll be a completely different elevated. So, but I still think that first step of being able to do dope shit from your home that you couldn't do before, it's just, to me as like a curious person, it's just worth, I don't know if there's a better way to spend $3,600 if it can live up at all, like in any of the ways.
Well, that productivity point is a great point, man. And the reason why is, I mean, I have a buddy already, Smalls, who travels a lot in Europe, and he works for a company stateside. And he actually has the Meta Quest Pro, and he does just that. I think Apple's the richness of the quality of the video, I think will take it a step further, because I like these monitors that I have here aren't going to be replaced by a headset until like the pixelation is like perfect quality, as if
lag.
There's just, you're right. It's probably a year or 2 off,
but it will get there.
That can't be understated. That productivity component of the Vision Pro and these next generation headsets, I think, are huge, to the point where you're not going to need a bunch of screen. Now, the only thing that they have to crack is the fatigue, because there is still like eye strain and there's still fatigue. I've heard early reports too of the Vision Pro just being so heavy that like after half an hour, you just want to take it off. It's like a slog on your head. And so the ergonomics are going to have to be cracked. I think they will in due time, or at least enough to the point where it's just like staring at a screen. It's not going to be perfect, but you may have 3 or 4 hours before you're annoyed enough to take the thing off. I don't know, but it's all exciting. It's very exciting to track. And as a creator, sort of like adjacent to the tech space, I'm going to be following it really closely.
The other thing too, that like, this is such a small thing, but I feel like would affect almost everyone. If you only have one headset, like if I'm sitting on the couch and my wife doesn't have one and I have one, we're completely disconnected, right? I'm immersed in something and she is in real life, which like sucks, because if she had one and I had one, I feel like I could be in there for 4 hours with her doing stuff and it'd be so fun. But like, because you're removing yourself from society and the rest of society won't have one, it'll create this like, it almost becomes like a video game where it's like, I'm going to sit down and play video games instead of I'm going to be in this world with everyone that I care about. So that's why I'm also like really interested in it scaling to the point where all my friends from home can have one, all their spouses can have one. We can just like, you know, maybe, and this sounds like, it sounds really weird to say, but like maybe Friday at 7 p.m., instead of going out to eat and getting drunk, like is what we all used to do, we just go out to eat, we come home, everyone in their respective cities put the thing on, and we like meet up in this like virtual space. That's so sick to me. Like maybe not everyone thinks that's really cool because they think it's like a little weird, but that's really cool to me. But not everyone's going to have this because it's like such a limited run initially.
No, the social component is huge. I play Warzone all the time just to stay connected with my boys. Like I've never booted up I think it's probably been like years and years and years since I've actually booted up a video game to play solo. I will only log on if like 4 other of my boys are on just to like catch up, and that's kind of how we do it. So you're right, like the Vision Pro, if everybody owned one, it could replace that. Again, I'm super excited about the fitness opportunities in the future. Imagine like a haptic suit, omnidirectional treadmill. Imagine now you're playing a shooting game, but you're also burning 1,200 calories doing it and having even more fun. Those kind of opportunities. Boxing's like a big one where I play on the Quest 2, like this boxing game called Thrill of the Fight. It's fucking dope, bro. Like I'm in there after 3 rounds, I'm drenched in sweat. I'm like, holy shit. And I can only imagine in like I'm playing against a computer because the feedback, the bandwidth, there's not enough to have it real time. But eventually there's going to be, you wear a feedback suit and it's going to be real time. There's not going to be any lag at all where you're like going to be able to spar. Imagine like how much would you spend to go box against like Shakur Stevenson or something, and it's like actually him. And you're like, holy fuck, it's going to get crazy. And I'm just excited to see where it all goes. Again, from a consumer entertainment standpoint, but there's also productivity, there's education, so many different buckets. And so, yeah, I mean, this conversation here is convincing me
we're buying
more so to get it, than to not to get it, just to explore the capabilities.
Well, if you're hearing this, because we know a lot of people at Apple listen, if you're listening, we're happy to buy it. But also, if you want to send a couple to the boys, we'll we could put some crazy content together. So
that'd be amazing.
We'll
I know Apple's notoriously difficult. I think even like some like Marquise Brownlee will get it, but I think they only really, they're notoriously difficult. Was an Apple developer for 8 years, and I'd always like put in a request. Nah.
Yeah. One other thing.
They know like people are going to buy it anyways.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're buying it. One other thing to say, which is why it's so exciting from a business perspective, which I think is fairly understood, but like we'll say it anyway. When you go into business today in the physical world, and you're a newbie, beginner, and you've never done it before, it does kind of seem like the deck is slanted against you a little bit because you don't have the know-how. Real estate is a physically constrained asset. People own it. They're like savants at understanding how, like let's take a clothing store, for example. If you were in New York City and you wanted to open a clothing store, you don't know anything about real estate. You don't know anything about like construction of the clothing store. You don't know anything about merchandising. There's so many things you don't know, right? A lot of things to trip over. And that's why sometimes it takes 10 to 15 years before you can really become a successful entrepreneur in the physical world. What's most compelling to me, number one, is every industry is going to be rebuilt from scratch in the virtual world, and the operators of the physical businesses may or may not be curious enough or have the technical chops to figure that out, meaning it's completely open. So like, what does the clothing store in VR look like? What does the TV experience? What does the ad stack? What does the like trying out physical product, like every single thing that you take for granted that like Best Buy and Barnes and Noble and all of these like huge brands have figured out, have to be recreated and rethought from scratch. There will be a lot of consulting firms that educate those big tech or those big companies on how they can do it. But to me, that's where there's a ton of opportunity if you're early to figure out those paradigms. So that's why like I don't want to get too bogged down with committing the next 10 years, raising VC money to building some physical widget when it's very possible that 2 years from now, what I really want to do is build the future of clothing stores and like sell those to my favorite brands, right? So that's the thing that really excites me most.
Yeah, and that's the kind of long-term thinking that goes back to our earlier conversation. It's like you keep building that audience, that you keep stacking those trust coins, as we've referred to in previous episodes. And then in 3 years, all of a sudden, that's when that 9-figure idea hits and you're prepared to take advantage of it because of the work that you've been doing for these 3 years and building that distribution and trust engine. I think that's well said. I'm really excited to, again, as a designer, it's not, so far we've been building 2D interfaces. Now what is sort of this fluid 3D ever-changing omnipresent interface look like? Again, 2027, that's where my eye is at. I think 24,
24 is the prototype
20
phase.
million American households may own a VR set. Only 500,000 households are going to own one of these. It's a $3,600 developer kit. That's how I see it. 25, 26, there may be an uptick, but there will eventually be that Pokemon Go craze that takes the world by complete storm, that heavily accelerates the adoption curve for these headsets. I think it'll probably be around 2027. And by that time, the ergonomics and the form factors are going to be a lot more appealing. And so I'm bullish, man. End of this decade, I think these are going to go nuts. And so it's probably worthwhile to get on it early and try to figure out what can be built.
By that time, we'll have so many trust coins. It's going to be like Gringotts over here. I feel like we'll be able to do something. Do you want to talk about Zach Pogrob a little bit more? I can give you some context too that I think is interesting around how he got to where he's at. So his backstory, and I don't know everything. So if Zach, when you listen to this, I'm sorry if I misquote something, but basically he played sports in college, got hurt, couldn't keep, maybe he wanted to go pro. Like a story you hear a lot is like these really great athletes that get hurt, they got to figure out where to channel that energy. So like you mentioned, he started out as behavior hack, which is kind of interesting because I feel like obsession is in the DNA of the word behavior hack. So like that probably was brewing this whole time. But what's most interesting to me is I think he bought or owned a couple of those like photo booth things you see at weddings where like it's like that photo booth machine. And that's what gave him the cash flow to be able to kind of like run at the content as his like, I don't know which he treated as his primary and his side thing, but like he was able to keep going on the content and like hire video editors and like figure that out because of the cash flow he had on those photo booth machines, which is kind of cool. And so he's been posting on Instagram. If you scroll back on his timeline, he's been posting for like 4 or 5 years. And from the very beginning, it was like this black and white kind of like productivity mindset hack type content. Like he's been on this for a long time. And I heard him in a podcast talk about how he started, was nothing for a while, had like a spike up to 250,000 followers, nothing for a while, whatever. He's kind of like stair stepping. He was the one that pioneered, him and Hunter Weiss, although Hunter Weiss was doing it for Dan Coe around the same time, they pioneered that black and white animation style. And I think he started doing that in 2022, like right around the same time you and I started making content at all. So it's been like a year plus. And he basically was the voiceover, or he would take famous audio and make these like 10 to 15 second animated reels, and they went crazy. And that's how he grew from whatever 300K to 1.5 million. But what I find most interesting is he was always talking about this like behavior mindset hack type stuff, but the idea of obsession and him obsessing over obsession, he hadn't really publicly talked about for a while. I think he just started talking about that maybe 12 months ago. And the way he just went all in around this one idea, and everything he says has the word obsession in it or talks about obsession. His bio has obsession. He is now the obsession guy. When, like you said, when you think of his name, you think of obsession. It's so crazy how well he has glued obsession to himself. It's one of the best self-branding examples I've ever seen. And what I wanted to talk about was that he did that, but he didn't really know what the business model was. Not only did he not have it dialed, I don't even think he knew what it could be. Like he had some ideas like whatever, we could make clothing around this or whatever, but he tried various things, agency, tried some like physical product collabs, tried some brand deals, whatever. But what I find most interesting is that like 2 days ago, he launched what he's calling a run cult in New York. And so he was into fitness, never really into running, starts talking about obsession, gets linked up with Hunter Weiss, who's a big runner, and Casey Neistat's a big runner. Zach starts running, gets obsessed with running. Everything he's posting is like, I'm going to the dark place, like I'm running super fast, like I'm a runner. And then now he's launching Run Cult, which is like this obsessed group of runners running at dawn in New York City. And I just find like, who knows if Run Cult's going to become his legacy or just like a side thing he does, or like could be his main revenue source for his life. I don't know. But it's just so interesting that if you zoom back 4 years back, there's no way that guy who was mostly lifting, never running, never really talking about obsession would have projected forward, oh, the thing I'm going to be most excited about in my life is like hosting this Run Cult in New York City and like being the obsession guy. So it's just a testament to what you were saying before, is like, you really never know where you're going to end up. You just have to kind of like keep going in that direction. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but
I think Zach is a superstar in the making, and we're watching it unfold. Like, I think he's been doing it brilliantly. I think the fact that he's not like rushing to monetize is the special sauce. Zach could have just done course, writing course, how to grow on Instagram course. Look at me, I grew 1.5 million, cashed in. But then like that's just kind of who he is forever. But instead, he's opting for this long-term branding play. This is what we talked about earlier with Ali Abdaal, finding like, okay, productivity. This is golden. I'm going to be the productivity guy. Ryan Holiday with stoicism. Zach Pogrob with obsession. And so we're going to see in the next 5 years, I don't even think he needs to rush into it, man. Just continue to build this brand, this message, this voice, this movement. And then he can do one of a million things. You know, he could take this in so many different places. But I think for him, I mean, I can't speak for him because there's a million things that he can do, but he could kind of follow that thought leadership thing like Alex Hormozy, where he's going to be putting out, I think if he puts out a book in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be like a bestseller, He can be part of this thought leadership sort of like cabal on Instagram with like Ed Milet and all these guys, and all of a sudden he's going to conferences and getting paid $100,000 to speak, and then he builds businesses and an entire empire on top of this movement that he's building. And so I love witnessing it in action. Another thing that he did brilliantly was, you know, back in 2015, I had an Instagram page. It was a quotes page, and it was similar actually to him. I had like the handwritten, I had, you know, serif fonts, hand drawn.
You're always ahead of all the trends.
And it got to like 2.5 million. And then what I ended up doing is I sold it for a nice bag. But because I was like, I didn't know where to take it. I was like, this is just a quotes page. What he did is he took the quotes and then he turned it into brilliant writing. And so like it was a step further, but then it was still just like a dope writing quotes page. But the most brilliant thing that Zach did is he interweaved his own personal brand, his own message, his own journey as part of it. And he did it gradually to the point where I've seen a lot of people, again, they ride the wave of a new format or of a new whatever. They build a big Instagram sort of themed page, but then it always stays that. It doesn't become a personal brand, which is a million times more impactful. So the fact that now it went from behavior hack, this quote page, to like Zach Pogrob, this sick ass entrepreneur building a movement, kudos to him. That is so, so hard to do. And you never see that. You never see that because people usually either try to rush it or they just don't have the talent to do it. And so I love witnessing his journey. Again, that's a star in the making. In 5 years, I think he's like one of the guys, you know, he's like a David Goggins or whoever he wants to become.
He is. I think he's a star in the making too. I was going to ask, like, so we looked at his whole journey. Let's say that was 5 years, but he really started the obsession thing like 6 to 12 months ago, where now, like we said, you say obsession, you say his name, the word I think is obsession. Like I just do. I picture the dark flag and I think obsession. And so I'm curious, like from your perspective.
Yes, brilliant.
What did he, in that obsession phase, what did he do better than most other people do who are trying to build a personal brand around something?
I say this in a good way. He never shut up. He never, like, it was just nonstop. Every time I open up Twitter, there's like 52, like I think the guy just output all day long, every day. And that's what it takes. Just very basic marketing 101, repetition. Yeah. Repetition. Every time I open up my feed, I'd see a black flag, the word obsession, something. And that's what it takes. You know, you got to be, it goes back to the quantity versus quality. There's an element of quantity that you have to pursue. And that guy, I mean, I'd have to go through his thing. It seems maybe just he's hitting my algorithm because I've been consuming a lot more of his content, but it seems like he just tweets all day long, posts all day long. And that's what it takes,
yeah.
You know?
Well, that's what I was going to say is I feel like most of the time when I see somebody who's posting that much about one thing, it becomes cringy to me. Like I start to get like, I'm like, all right, damn, like enough. And then I unfollow them. But for some reason, whether it's the fact that I feel like I'm kind of obsessed and like would be one of the people that follow his like cult if he had one. And so like it's more relatable to me, or I just don't, it's either that or I don't feel like he's doing it in a cringy way. But for whatever reason, I see him talk about obsession 10 times a day and it doesn't turn me off. Like it's been like a year and it doesn't turn me off. So I really, and maybe it's because he's a great writer.
It's dope.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the writing, bro.
I think it's the writing.
Masterful.
Because I see a lot of people who are, picture anyone who's like known for a topic. And I bet I thought they were cringy at some point, right? And I like unfollowed them. It was just like too much. But for some reason, his is not overwhelming. It's like the perfect dose of, because I guess not every single tweet has the word obsession in it. Not every single post has the word obsession, but it's always at the root. And I don't mind it because, I kind of feel like a member of that group.
You know what it is, man? I think it's just the perfect marriage that we talked about earlier. Like it's not quality over quantity. It's not quantity over quality. It's quality and quantity. And if you can crack those two, like he's been able to do that. He's been able to, the union of quality and quantity. And so very, very, very few creators are able to do that. Cause I agree, man. If it was like anybody else, any other word that appeared on my feed that much, I'd probably get annoyed. But for me, I'm double tapping everything. I'm appreciating it's just quality shit.
Exactly.
And so I respect
the
it.
other thing too is like from a design perspective, I think it's really easy to try to sit at home and try to like engineer a signature style. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone to a designer being like, I want a signature style for this. Never works. But for what, like he naturally, the black and white on the video, the like that crazy serif, like goth kind of font, the like you said, the mid-journey images of the people that are almost like wispy ghosts, like not fully there. Like everything
grungy,
is coming together in this perfect visual package. And I bet if he was on here, we should get him on here, but I bet he would say, these are just things that naturally I tried over time. I was not able to like think of this package at one point in time and build against it, which is what most people, including me, try to do. So it's just interesting how these like visual brands come together on accident almost,
It's reps, man. It's, what's that quote? Luck is opportunity meets preparation. It's the more surface area, the more you put out there, the higher the surface area of your brand, the more opportunities, the more touch points. And I think with him, you just covered his 5-year journey. That's how long it takes. I think if Zach was starting today, he could never get to this point overnight. It just takes those reps, that practice, putting shit out there. And I can't preach that enough for any new creator. I'm talking to myself too. It's like, just try everything. Don't think too hard about pigeonholing yourself into like one brand identity or who you want to be. I think that's a trap that maybe we've fallen into because it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight. So I think Zach is a great prototype. Probably spent 2 or 3 years without anything hitting, found a format, wrote a wave, was able to brilliantly transition from that wave into brand. And I think the next 5 years for him, now he's going to go into build mode. And if there was a stock market for creators, I'd be buying as much stock of his as possible. I want to ask you a question. Are there any other creators that come to mind that you think fall into that same category where you're like, yo, if I could buy their IPO, I would go all in on it?
There are some that I feel like are even earlier than Zach. So it's like less proof. Like he has 5 years of proof.
Less refined,
but that I'm pretty hype on. I think Callum Johnson, if he doesn't quit, is going to be a huge force in like interview conversational podcasting. I think he has the sauce. He just doesn't have the time yet to like have had it rip huge, although he's starting to. He's one. There's this guy, Billy Oppenheimer, who is the research assistant for...
What a name.
Yeah, great name. He's the research assistant for Ryan Holiday, actually. And he's got this really interesting newsletter called, it's like 6 at 6. It's 6 at 6 on 6 or something, where he like gives 6 bullets at 6 p.m. on Sunday or something. And this guy's just... I don't know, you've probably seen tweets he's put together where Ryan Holiday, what makes him amazing is he packages things from different sources together thematically in a really unique way. Well, he taught that system to Billy, and I think Billy is just as good at doing it, just as good as him at doing it. And so he's so amazing at putting these kind of connecting these random dots together. Again, I don't know like where that manifests for him. He's early on the journey, but he's someone where I'm like, this dude's got sauce for sure. I'm trying to think who else from a creator perspective, because there's a lot of people that I see that are like, I'm like, damn, that's dope, like in the moment, but I don't see it enough consistently where I'm in my head, I can pull them right now and be like, this person's a guaranteed bet all my money on them. What do you think? Any names come to mind? I can look through my Instagram while you talk.
So there's actually one name that come to mind that's a little bit unconventional, but I'm writing a newsletter on the importance of sort of format. Let me get to her in a second, but the gentleman, my boy that I talked to from DC earlier, Scott Parker with 30 Businesses, he's like, right now he's searching for a soul cycle. So in business, if you're able to again, find this unique format, like a soul cycle that's never been done, which is like the union of several different things packaged up really, really nicely. It's like, that's where you find gold. It's the same in business as in content. It's like, if you find a unique format that is not only a hybrid of what you're good at, what you love doing. I mean, so where I'm going with this is, I've been sourcing a lot of examples for this newsletter entry. One, her name is Kayla Sullivan. Not the creator that would usually be sort of in like our ecosystem that we'd be tracking. Is more of almost like a family mommy blogger in a way, but the way that she's done it is brilliant. So she was a newscaster for some like local TV channel. And then she just did a fun reel where she's holding like a baby toy and she's doing a newscast outside of her daughter's bedroom. It's like, little girl has been grounded. More like it was like news coverage, but family style.
Yeah.
And it went crazy viral. She leaned into that. And now if you go to her page, it's like everything is, it's this brilliant, again, unique format that's unique to her. And so she's always holding some random item. I'm looking at her page now. She's either holding like a key or like a lipstick or a water bottle. That's part of her shtick. And by the way, she's a great reporter. So she has that reporter voice, you know, it's like reporting live from Illinois, you know how they talk. And it's all like just fun, whimsical family stuff. And her views are crazy. Now the brand deals that are coming in for her are obviously like unbelievably lucrative. And then that, you know, that's part of her story. And she's always thanking her audience. I can't believe I was a newscaster. Now I'm able to do this for a living, being able to support my family, doing super well. And again, like that's a testament to how important the format is. And if you're able to crack a unique format, that is this, you know, cocktail of all of your different skills and interests, graph, and there's something gold there. And so when you ask me, like, are there any other creators that I have my eyes on? It's like ones that are able to crack and pioneer a very, very unique format. And so Kayla Sullivan's an example, and I'm sourcing like 10 other examples for this newsletter. So
one that comes to mind.
I'm always eyeing the format.
One that comes to mind that you should include. The problem is though, like I don't know her name or what she looks like, but have you seen the girl on TikTok that does the like, how many miles are you running today? And it's like and then she's like, well, if you run 5, I'll buy you a pair of Nikes. And then it's her running through New York with.
Ooh, I'll have to find that.
Just search like running girl New York. The problem is though, her face isn't usually on. I mean, maybe her face is on it sometimes, but it's not only her. And also like in TikTok and on these short form channels, you just don't link to the name. You link to the idea and the format. You just don't link to the name.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean,
she's really good.
Gradual, you know, like Zach Pogrob. That's gradual. Like, you know, the guy who does, hey, nice car. What do you do for a living?
Daniel Mack.
Like he was able to transition that. Daniel Mack. Now he's a name. Yeah. You know, but
so look up that girl.
And so, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. If you come across her, let me know because I want to write about her as well. But that's what I'm thinking about now too. And also just personally as a creator, it's like, hey, what format can I like kind of crack that's unique to me? I mean, you basically kind of have that with what we're talking about, that marketing business breakdown. I think that's super dope. Just yeah, man, unique format. So when I see a creator, it's very, very hard to break now in today's climate.
Yeah.
You know. Everything's been done. Everybody's doing the same shit. Everybody's just rehashing everybody else's ideas. How can you break through with a new format? That's always what I'm thinking about.
Too many examples of that are like Carl Shakur with the snap thing at the beginning of his video. And that's not like a full format to his video, but that little thing, I like became known for, I knew him because of that. Or like that other guy that
right.
I think you replicated in one of your videos. I haven't seen his stuff in a while, but I think his name's Ethan potentially. He had that really unique like,
oh, Ethan Uncurated?
Ethan Uncurated.
Yeah.
I don't know if he stopped posting or I'm just stopped getting his videos, but he had that like really unique kind of like vintage look where he would be like super monotone. It's the same thing, right? It's like, you know, people because of the format. So I think it's I have one more example to share. This guy I think is going to be huge and he's so early. Hunter Weiss found this guy when he had 600 followers and I just got randomly served an algo in the algo. His handle is by Maximize. So I don't know if his name is Max or he's going for this like maximize thing, but it's this green circle with this white kind of like asterisk symbol. This guy he's a kid. I don't know where he lives. he has just this amazing taste for what I'll say is like cross format media. So the video I saw was a clip of Jeff Bezos on a laptop or on like a TV playing. And then after a couple,
I found his page.
yeah,
now.
just if you go down this guy's videos, and you can tell because he's raw. Like, it's not that they're perfect, and it's not that he is talking to the camera in a way where you're like, this individual has like the most amazing things to say. His taste is immaculate. Like, he's just such a good storyteller and I was DMing with him just like, yo man, how'd you learn to edit? Like, this is so crazy. And yeah, I think that guy's going to be huge.
Dope. I followed him. I'll dive into him after this pod.
Dope. All right. Anything else you want to cover? You said you had one fan question. You want to hit that, or did we already cover it?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we can wrap. Let me pull it up. This was from Truman Milan, he is a dope videographer. He's got his own video production company. I've known him now for a while. I met him in New York years back, man. But he asked the question. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up. So he says he'd love to hear our opinions and thoughts on how would you go about creating content if you were at the beginning of your career. Meaning, so you'd built up a financial pool that allowed you to quit your job and kind of like take your time. I have like enough money in the bank where I can kind of do this for 3-4 years needed without really like having to rely on making money. So basically what he's saying is like, you're able to build and create a lot of things outside of the public eye. You reach success. Then you went all in on content. And I think that's a great approach because it puts you in a position where you could postpone the ask of your audience and really build long-term trust, as we always think about. So he says, if you were 25 today, would you still go that approach, or would you do a more build in public approach? What are your thoughts on that? So let me rephrase the question. If you're starting today from scratch, you have no previous experience, nothing. Do you spend your time outside of the public eye, not making content, trying to build something and then talk about that after the fact? Or do you build in public and document the entire process of the journey from starting? Like, what do you think is more compelling?
Do you have any skills at this point? Or you have no skills on like the content or the product at this point?
Yeah, I mean, good question, right? There's a lot of variables there. Let's just say you're starting from scratch. You just graduated high school. You don't know what you're good at. I don't know. Like, what would you recommend going into content and documenting your journey, or would you like, go live your life, go get some experience, go do some stuff, build some stuff, and then come back and make content?
Yeah, I mean, this is the best question because I feel like everyone's in this boat of like, where do I start? The thing is, if you have no money, it's almost impossible to build something, especially if it's like a physical product. But even if it's not physical, you're going to have to, if you don't have any skills, you're going to have to hire someone with skills or partner with someone with skills who can actually build the thing. So the problem with starting with the product is it's going to take capital in some way. Because like, let's say clothes. Let's say you don't know how to make clothes. You're going to have to buy the raw fabric. Even if you found a factory that would do it for you for free, you're going to have to buy the raw fabric. You're going to have to buy inventory. So like, that's the problem. But let's assume you have like a little bit of money where you don't have enough money to go forever, but like you have a little bit of money where you could pay for the product if you wanted to build first. This is a great. So my thing is, I've seen a decent amount of examples of people build the business and just make content about the business, documenting the process. But almost all of them were good at making content already. So like, they weren't a 0 out of 10 skill level at the content. And then, let's say there's a guy, Zach Kravitz, I think his name is. He always starts his videos like, hey, my name's Zach, I'm building a bag brand. And he's on TikTok. And he has this cool, like dark, moody aesthetic where he shows himself like trying to build these like high quality bags. So for someone like him, from the outside, he's definitely made content before. I don't think he was just starting at 0 because he has like the ability to cut well and like storytell well, but he started trying to make these bags from scratch and then documented his journey. I like that, but he had content experience. If you don't have content experience, I think it's kind of helpful to start on the content side because no matter what you build, you're going to have to tell a story about it to get someone to buy it. You're going to have to do that no matter what business you start. And the best way to learn storytelling is to make content. So if you have, I get like the question's good because if you start with content, you won't have a product to make content about. But that's what I did. I just started making content about like stuff I found interesting online, just like stories. Like I was just repackaging other information. So I think I would, long answer short, I think I would start with the content. but you can't be afraid then, if you get the content working, to pivot away and then start launching the physical product. I'm curious what you would say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of variables. So the questions you asked before, okay, do you have any skills? You know, so many variables here. Are you know, if you're 18, are you able to like live in your parents' house for a year, stack up a little bit of money while you do? I mean, you know, it depends person to person. I think I always recommend for people to go in deep on content, whether that's all in or whether that's like, hey, you go to your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 10 is content, especially when you're young. Like, I can't say it enough, like try everything and work your ass off, because that is your time to do it. You shouldn't be focused on like partying and chasing girls. Like, I wish I'm talking to my younger self a little bit too. Like, that is such a waste of time. Like, you really can be working 14, 15 hours a day. I'm not trying to like venture into the hustle porn side of things, but like, you can be grinding 15 hours a day when you're 19, 20, 23, 24. And that shouldn't be difficult. Like, it just shouldn't. So my thing is always get into the content game. Even if it doesn't work out, you're now equipped with modern skills that are almost necessary for survival and success in this digital era. So you need to, and maybe you're not going to be a video editor, a content creator, or a curator, or whatever. Maybe you're not going to use any of these skills, but even knowing these skills and understanding them intimately puts you in a position of success. Because even if you're a business owner that doesn't make any content, you're going to have a marketing team that does. You're going to be hiring creators that do. And understanding the process, understanding what goes into editing, what goes into storytelling, how to communicate with an audience, how to, you know, all of these things is just like such an important skill to possess. And so, yeah, my advice to everybody who comes to me, should I start making content? I'm always like, yes. It's like, chances are you're not going to become a successful content creator. This is not going to be, but like, worst case scenario, you're now equipped with invaluable skills that you're going to need to navigate, you know, the modern digital era. So,
and
I don't know if that's kind of a rough question, but without more context, it's
another thing to say on this is like, this literally was me actually. So like, now that as you were talking, I was reflecting, like the thing I tried to do before making content was make a clothing brand. And so I had no knowledge of making a clothing and no knowledge of making content. And what happened is I picked, let's go down the clothing path. What happened is it was a struggle to learn how to make clothing, as you would expect with any type of product. But also I had no distribution to get signal back to if my clothes were good or even how to sell them. So it was like, I was kind of screwed both ways. So after that stopped, I was like, all right, let me just start with the content, and here we are. Now, do I have a successful product? No. Have I been able to sell any clothes, like make any clothes and build any clothes? No. But now I feel way more confident that if I had the right product, I could sell it 6 ways to Sunday. I don't know if that's a quote, 10 ways to Sunday, 12 ways, whatever the quote is. But like that, so that's a good, I guess that's a good example where like, I wish I started with content much earlier. I wish when I was 22, I started with content, because by now I'd be able to tell any story in any way, in any medium, and sell any product. We're just getting to the point now where I feel like my skills are even kind of close to being able to do that. So another example is this guy I found, Logan Anderson. You would like this guy. You should find this guy on Instagram or TikTok. I think he spent 7 years with doing video for an agency, and he just launched a clothing brand called Evoke Amore. Now, I don't know, his clothing brand looks still small. I think he's in his first drop, but like I just reposted a video he made the other day. He made the sickest.
Is he on Instagram? I can't.
Yeah, I think it goes by like,
find him.
I think he goes by like, let's see. Oh, it's Logan Armstrong. My bad. It's Logan Strong Arms is his Instagram handle. So I think he made a video talking about like how I made a clothing brand, and it was one of the sickest videos I've seen. Didn't get a ton of views on TikTok, but he doesn't have that huge of an account. But like he said, the reason I was able to do this is because I made commercials for a video agency for 7 years, and then I launched my clothing brand. So it's like, even if he made the sickest clothes in the world, but had never made any content, he wouldn't be able to get the message out. So I to circle around again, I think content. You should start with content.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this. I mean, it's, if I continue compounding at the rate I am now with the knowledge and the skills that I'm picking up, when I do come out with that product that is just so irresistible, it's like, I know I can get 1 million views on like anything now, kind of, like, if I need to go out and get 1 million views on this product announcement, like I'm going to go the cinematic route. I know exactly how to piece it together, how to do it. And so again, like those skills are invaluable. And if you're somebody, hey, maybe you never figure it out, maybe I never figured out, I can then offer, my services to somebody else to take their product to the next level. So it's like just being, again, just having these skills and just understanding the game, how it works. Regardless if that is going to be your career route or if that's something you're going to pursue successfully or not, just developing those skills is of utmost importance. And I just think, in general, if there's advice that I'm going to give to young people is build a skill and do it better than anybody else. That's just one of the best ways, I think, to build wealth and to build yourself into something.
Let's leave it on that. Weekends, episode 9. If you got this far, you're a diehard. Thank you for listening. Share this with a friend. Share this with another creator. Hit us up in DMs. Let us know what topics you want us to cover. Sometimes we just let it rip. Sometimes we talk about specific things like the Vision Pro. If you guys want us to cover something, let us know. But for now, we're out of here.
Yeah, I would love that feedback, honestly, man. I'd love to, just from a product mind, you build something, you iterate, you talk to customers, you iterate, you talk to customers, you iterate. I think we can kind of approach it the same way where it's, don't be afraid to give us feedback, positive or negative. I think that will enable us to deliver the best possible product in the long run.
Hell yeah. All right, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Yes, sir. All right.